Hi friends, this is everything that I read in the month of October. First up, House of Hollow, and I think this was written for me. I loved everything about this. This was so good. It is a lush, dark, eerie, fractured fairy tale that is just drenched in gorgeous and grotesque atmosphere. It's a twisted blend of horror, mystery, magical realism, a little gothic fantasy. So the Hollow sisters have been different ever since their strange and mysterious disappearance on New Year's Day in Edinburgh, only to return a month later with crescent-shaped scars on their throats and flowers entwined in their hair. The world has been obsessed with them ever since. There's conspiracy theories, there's rumors of the supernatural, there are whispered suspicions about the parents. Now, a decade later, the eldest sister has vanished under equally strange circumstances, and Iris Hollow, the youngest Grey sister and the protagonist who we follow as our narrator, is drawn into a very haunting search. What begins as a quest to find her sister turns into a dark exploration of their shared past. I absolutely loved this. The gothic atmosphere, the eerie setting. This is a delicious, slow burn, poisonous fantasy, and I don't think you should be fooled by the YA label. This story is dark, and it's perfect for readers of all ages who like a fractured fairy tale with a sinister edge. It also made me want sisters. 5 out of 5 stars. I loved this. If you followed along with me on my last vlog, you know the next few that I read, you've heard my thoughts on them, but the first of those is Big Fan, and I was a big fan of Big Fan. I read this about a week before Liam Payne passed away, which is wild because this is One Direction fanfic, and I didn't know that picking it up, although looking back, if I had just read the back and read the title, I probably could have figured it out. This is short, smart, and very swoony. There's a smart, ambitious heroine who's super focused on her career. It's kind of like the idea of You, but better and without the actual inspiration from real life relationships. Plus scandal, except again, way better. Our main character, Maya, was a rising star in politics until her ex-husband's scandal derailed her career. She's ready for a fresh start with a new candidate, and she's determined to focus on meaningful work. She has come a long way from the teenage fangirl she used to be, from the president of the fan club to actually advising on presidential campaigns. So when Charlie, the heartthrob, former lead singer of a boy band, and Maya's teenage crush, reaches out for help with a solo comeback, she's suddenly balancing her political career with an opportunity she simply can't refuse. This is about 160 pages long, and I actually thought this was the perfect length. It did not sacrifice any emotional impact, and I actually prefer it a little bit shorter because I think it means that there is a lot less extra fluff put in there, like many contemporary romance novels. There's less manufactured drama and unnecessary filler. This is the novella of your fanfic loving dreams, but it's also smart and exceptionally well written. Not only does it have something to say about universal basic income, which is cool, but there were tons of really cool references. I see you, 831 stories, and I'm excited for whatever comes next. If it's more short romance novellas like this, that is absolutely a trend I can get behind. I really wish the same could be said for Graveyard Shift by M.L. Rio. This is like a very short, eerie, adult episode of Scooby-Doo, but with rats and fungus and grave digging. Follow these 5 night shift workers who meet regularly for a late night smoke break in an old graveyard over the course of a single autumn night. It is a morsel of a story, and it is delightfully creepy. There's atmospheric tension, a touch of dark academia, there's morally gray characters, and M.L. Rio brings that signature, complex character dynamics to life even in the small package. Unfortunately for me though, the super short page count meant that the mystery felt super underbaked, a little underdeveloped, and I thought the ending was way too abrupt. Even the length of this novella is deceptive because it's maybe 100 pages and the last, I don't know, 30 pages or so, 20 pages or so are a playlist cocktail recipes, and an excerpt of When We Were Villains. I don't think we had the real estate to spare, but that's just me. The theme of this video is going to be I'm apparently Goldilocks when it comes to book lengths right now, because I thought this was perfect and this was too short, and there's a couple other books later on that I thought were too long. So maybe it's me, maybe I'm the problem, but I really thought that this should have had an extra 100 pages. However, any of you insomniac readers, I do think that this is an excellent option for something you can read in a single sitting when you are having your next sleepless night. It certainly definitely got me in the mood for the spooky season, and the vibes really were excellent. So overall, not bad. Then I read Given Our History. I read this for a romance book club, and someone in our group thought this said Gwen Our History, and I have to say, if you like cover the I in Given, it's kind of hard to unsee. And I really enjoyed this. This is a dual timeline, second chance, slow burn romance that follows teenage besties who become adult academics. There are so many fun flashbacks to summer camps in the gorgeous Blue Ridge Mountains, and it really is like an ode to the millennial experience. It's a nostalgic trip down memory lane with burning CDs and trading books at sleepaway camp. And then in the adult time periods, we're in an academia setting where we follow a very strong-willed, ambitious heroine, which we love. Clara Fernsby is a history professor up for tenure, and she is forced to confront her past when Teddy, her childhood best friend and first love, reappears in her life as a visiting scholar at her college. It's been a decade since they've spoken, but now, with shared office space and late-night project brainstorming sessions, wouldn't you know, those old feelings begin to resurface. Of course. And I really liked everything about this. I liked the setting and the switching timelines, and if you want a contemporary autumnal romance that doesn't have another hex pun in the title, I think that this one is just the cup of tea for you. I then read The God of the Woods. This is a dual timeline, multi-POV mystery set in the Adirondacks. It's also summer camp vibes, but things take a turn in this one. It's a tangled web of family secrets and betrayal and buried trauma. Barbara Van Laar disappears from her family's summer camp in 1975. She's the second child in the Van Laar family to vanish without a trace. As the search unfolds, readers are pulled deeper into the hidden lives of those connected to the camp, where every character has something to hide. This is not your typical fast-paced thriller. In fact, if you pick this up expecting a fast-paced thriller, you will be disappointed. This is a slow burn mystery weaving multiple POVs, like so many POVs, maybe too many POVs, all woven together with rich, meandering prose. The narrative alternates between past and present, and we are peeling back the layers of this family dynasty and the working class community that lives in its shadow. I think the characters are very intentionally drawn, especially the resilient and very flawed female characters, so that was super interesting. Ultimately, this had way too many POVs for me, but I was still very invested and hooked in the mystery and trying to solve it. But I think if you're a fan of literary complex mysteries, then you'll definitely enjoy this one. Thanks to everybody on Instagram who helped me select the book that I was going to bring on my flight. I picked up A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, and it was the perfect book to pick up on the plane. I read it in the flight and couldn't put it down. I was so invested, it was so much fun, and this was exactly what the doctor ordered. If you are one of the very few people out there who haven't read this popular series like me, just know that it is a small town murder mystery with tons of twists and turns and red herrings that have you constantly second-guessing everyone, plus this really fun, like, mixed media storytelling format. And of course, we have the signature gutsy teen sleuth who's driven by a passion for justice. R.I.P. Nancy Drew, you would have loved Pip. Pippa isn't your average high school senior. For her final project, she's determined to prove that Sal didn't murder Andy. But what starts as a school assignment quickly spirals into something much bigger and way more dangerous. As Pip digs deeper, she uncovers secrets that the town would rather keep buried, pulling herself into the crosshairs of a killer who's still out there. This book is a roller coaster of suspense, with just the right amount of heart and humor to lighten the darker moments. The clever format makes you feel like you're solving the case right alongside Pip, and I couldn't put it down. This was such a fun and perfect little plain book, and I can see why it's so popular. It's exactly what you think you're getting out of a fast-paced YA mystery. It's perfect for a quick read to help you hit your reading goals, or something easy to jostle you out of a reading slump. Let me know if the TV adaptation is any good, because I'm tempted to watch it now. I also read American Rapture by CJ Lead. This is going to be a tricky one to talk about. This is for a very specific kind of reader, and you have to carefully consider if that's you. I'm not even 100% sure right now if that's me. Major content warnings. Whatever you do, proceed with extreme caution and check the content warnings. This is about a horrifyingly original concept for a pandemic that transforms people into lust-driven monsters. And that's putting it very gently. We follow a severely sheltered Catholic teen who is not only trying to navigate the end of days, but also her own beliefs and desires and shame. It is survival horror with found family and a deeply unsettling critique of purity culture. Everything about this book feels intentionally gratuitous. From the gut-wrenching violence to the emotional weight, C.J. Lee does not pull her punches at all. Sophie's world collapses as a devastating virus sweeps the country, turning the infected into terrifyingly feral creatures. Raised in a suffocatingly religious household, she is ill-prepared for the horrors that await. But the fight for survival is only part of her journey. This is also a reckoning with deeply ingrained doctrines of shame and sin. Don't be deceived by the playful little pun in the title. This is a gut punch of a book. If you are drawn to really dark, thought-provoking tales like The Last of Us, but crave a deeper dive into societal or maybe religious issues, then this one may be for you. But fair warning, it is not for the faint of heart. You should have tissues, maybe a stiff drink on standby. And it is not your typical apocalypse story. It is extremely graphic, unflinchingly brutal, and no humans or animals are safe in this book. If you are a fan of horror that doesn't really shy away from anything, then this may be for you. If anything I have said causes a little bit of a red flag in your head, then you should shy away from this and steer clear. It's not obvious I'm having a really hard time deciding how I feel about it. It is so intentionally heavy-handed, but I really appreciate what it has to say. A lot of the themes of this book really hit home for me in a visceral way. I also think that this would have hit completely differently if I had read this post-election results. I'm pretty grateful actually that I read it beforehand. I felt so many feelings while reading this, which is a sign that it's successful art. But at the same time, there was just so much gratuitous suffering that I wonder if I could have still understood what its message was and felt it just as deeply without some of the losses I had to endure along the way. Does that make sense? If any of that piques your interest, check the content warnings and go read it. Otherwise, take a beat. And if you have read it, let me know what your thoughts were down below. I will say I was riveted and I couldn't look away. So yeah, that's American Rapture. Last, I read A Witch's Guide to Fake Dating a Demon. This is lighthearted, laugh-out-loud paranormal romance between a sunshiny witch and a grumpy demon, and it's Raylo with magical mishaps and forced proximity, fake dating hijinks, all in a magical small town. Mariel Spark is the black sheep of her powerful witch family. Prophesized to be the most gifted spark in generations, she prefers gardening and baking to perfecting her spell work. But one magical mix-up later, she is summoned Ozroth the Ruthless, a demon infamous for driving hard bargains for the souls of mortals. Only Mariel doesn't want to give up her soul, which puts them in a little bit of an awkward impasse where Ozroth, the demon, is Mariel's unwilling roommate. To keep this magical mishap a secret from her overbearing mother, she maybe implies that Ozroth is her boyfriend. Cue a whimsical romance full of charm. I loved the magical small town setting and the chemistry between the main characters. However, I do think this one was like 100 pages too long. For me, it definitely dragged at times, and I think it could have had just the same cute, whimsical, magical charm in fewer pages. The jury's out on if I will be continuing my journey with this series, but I'm glad I read this in October, finally got to it. It was very cute. So that's everything I read in the month of October. Let me know down in the comments what your favorite books that you read in the month of October were, and I'll see you soon.